What's up, Holloway fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Let Me Holla at You podcast, where we talk about real life, real love, and real stories. Sorry we missed y'all last week. Had a lot of things going on, but we're going to focus on what's important, and that's the fact that we're all here right now together in this moment at the family reunion. Because every time we get together at the Let Me Holla at You podcast, it's a family reunion. But with no more further ado, I got some stuff I got to talk to y'all about. So, let me holla at you.
Alright, y'all, so to start off our episode this time, instead of giving you somebody else's story, not a submission, not a Reddit, I'm giving you my own. Today, I am the star of the show. No, I'm playing. But I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my story, because we got some updates for you guys.
Yes.
Your girl's unemployed. So, we're going to kind of jump in without giving away, obviously, too many details for just privacy reasons of not only myself, but, you know, my job or my old job and things like that. I'm going to kind of tell you guys a little bit into kind of what was going on and why I'm now unemployed. And if you can't tell, I am happy that I am unemployed. So this is not necessarily a bad thing. But that said, long story short, I was a teacher, and I can at least say that. This was my first year being a teacher. I've done like substitute things and whatnot before. And I've been a coach and a mentor to like high school, high school and college age students for a little bit now. So nothing necessarily new, but being in the classroom full time was new for me. So that said though, I really translated a lot of my old work experience from working in corporate and things like that into teaching. And honestly, the transition wasn't all that bad. But unfortunately, I kept running into different roadblocks. And my husband obviously knows this as well, but there's a lot of things, especially towards the end, that I felt like I couldn't have one good week. Like, there was always something that was coming up, something that was a problem, something that just kind of kept coming at me. And some things weren't even in my control, or I had nothing to do with, or if I had something to do with, where was the communication? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of things, and I've asked many people in many generations about many of the things that I've dealt with kind of during my time, and everyone came to the same consensus though. And I'm not talking about people that would be biased to me, you know what I'm saying? Because like my best friend, she might want to be more biased to me, or my husband, but I'm talking about people from the outside really in, and they all even agreed and said the same thing. And so long story short, I know I'm not crazy, okay? So I was kind of not justified, but, you know, I was right to have feelings or felt the way I did about certain situations. And the icing on the cake for me was that I was sent an email. And long story short, in this email, I was basically declined my First Amendment rights. And I will go ahead and say that. I morally do not stand with that. My morals have also been pushed on previously in my position in dealing with fairness and standing up for others, because I'm a firm believer in standing up for others, not only myself, but for others, especially when you're in a position of power. Obviously, if you're a teacher, you are the head of a class, so my voice is also there to stand up for my students. And this was just the icing on the cake, unfortunately, for me. And I was basically told if I did not do something, basically if I went against my own First Amendment rights, that they were threatening my job for the next year. I said, no, I'm not doing that. And I stood up for what I believed for. I morally did not think it was right. I did not break anything in any contract. I did not, and again, for privacy reasons, go even into what they were asking me to do. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I did not break any rules. And for that reason, morally, I said, no, I'm not doing that. And you don't have to worry about giving me a contract, because I didn't plan to come back, which is the truth. I really was not trying to go back just because I feel like I was not the right fit for that specific school. I just kind of have a different way of working and a different idea of education, and I just don't think it really lined up, and that's okay. But that said, your goal's not unemployed. And that's a big life change for us. So I am being a nice little housewife. Not doing the best because I could have cleaned a little bit more, but I'm playing. But yeah, no, I'm currently now looking for another full-time gig while also obviously keeping up with our other side gigs and talking to you guys. So that said, that's our story for the day.
Right. And it does bring up like an idea in my mind. You know, when you hear the word unemployed, especially in today's time, today's society, it can be a very scary word, and there is a lot of fear associated with that.
Yeah.
But I want to say I try to find the silver lining in everything. And so, yes, that word does scare me, but I always try to reference that with a new beginning. Mm-hmm. It's a chance for something new, to experience something, to get to know new people, maybe try out a new career field. So, I mean, there's a lot of joy and a lot of happiness in that as well, especially coming out of a chapter that wasn't necessarily as bright for you. And then just speaking on the situation, knowing the intentions of my wife in getting an education, and all of the things, the reasons as to why she got into it, I know that she had 100% pure and good intentions in getting into it. And right now, especially in today's time, like, it is not an easy profession to get into, and there's not a lot of people choosing to go into that. So for her to take that on, like, I just want to commend you for even going into the classroom, hearing all the horror stories that people share. And again, I want to say my wife was not the only person who has shared experiences on their job and at work. Not everybody was met with the same, reaction. But at the end of the day, like, it's common in today's time to speak on work-related issues because that's one thing we all have in common. I mean, the society has been set up, even before a lot of us were even thought of or even brought here, to be a work-first society. You have to work to survive and to live. And so why not speak on your experiences at said places? Because at that point, when you speak on those things, whether good or bad, it allows the opportunity for change.
And that's what I also was going to say too, you talking about that. I am a big believer in open communication.
Right.
And that's something that in the United States of America, you cannot take away from people. That's a literal right of ours. Okay, so, I mean, when you try to come at it and say that we can't talk about something and literally just communicate with others and be open and honest and have those conversations, you're trying to control somebody. And that's exactly how in that situation, and honestly some previously, but in that situation I felt. I was like, I'm not here to be controlled by you. Managed, sure, but I'm not going to be controlled. And I live in the United States of America, okay? I come from technically on my dad's side, a first generation American, immigrant story. Like, my dad was not born here, he came here, okay? So I can at least identify with the fact that they came here for a better life, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that whole literal American dream story, I've heard it and I know it. And it's like, yes, I was born here, but my dad wasn't, and obviously my grandparents were not either. And so them coming over, it's like, your rights do matter, and so I'm not going to let you take that away from me, and I'm not going to let you control me. And then that kind of goes for too, like, even in today's environment, it's illegal to tell employees that they can't talk about their pay with other colleagues and coworkers. But what do they try to do? They try to steer you away from those conversations. They try and almost intimidate you and say that you shouldn't talk about your pay with others. Like, do you know how many young, even students I know that said, well, you can't talk about your pay with other people? And I said, you definitely can. It's illegal, actually, for your employer to tell you that you can't talk about your pay with other people. But they do that on purpose. They don't want you communicating. They want to be able to control you in every sense of the way. And I'm not saying that everywhere does, but our generation, and this is something that I fully identify with, we want to be communicators. We want information. We want it out in the open. We want to talk about things, good or bad, and get it out there. And it's not always because we want the tea or the drama, okay? It's literally because we have gotten to a point where we're done being controlled and being unhappy. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be controlled and happy, but you're trying to control us, take away rights or freedoms, and still want us to be unhappy? Our generation said, no, F that. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where it came down to, is, like, are you willing to communicate with others? Are you willing to, stand up for something if you don't think it's right? And how far are you willing to stand up for it? You know what I'm saying? At the expense of you,
Yeah.
And I think open communication is something that should definitely be, really thought about. And I fully identify with our generation, because how can you change, good or bad? You know what I'm saying?
And it brings up a good point too. Like, is it sometimes okay to respond in the way that you feel, even if it may be perceived as, say, petty, you know what I'm saying, from someone else? Is it okay to react in that way? Or is it sometimes better to just kind of like protect your peace in the situation, just kind of like keep things to yourself, let the status quo be what it is, and, hopefully eventually I'll get to a point to where I can make that change from within one time, how do you come to that realization?
Yeah.
So for example, for me, I've watched my parents, work jobs that necessarily they didn't like and that they weren't being treated fairly. But in our particular situation at that time, like, it was better for them to just kind of, find their peace with it all, deal with it so they can keep the food on the table, keep the lights on, and things like that. But there's also the other side where, there's certain situations where someone's life wouldn't have gotten better. It was only going to get worse if they didn't speak up, if they didn't respond with that email and CC all, if they didn't, things like that kind of led, they were a trailblazer, in that sense, where it kind of led to change and it led to things becoming better. How do you make that decision? And I want to kind of ask you that in hearing your story and in hearing your confidence and how happy you are on the backside of after things unfolded so sporadically, not in the way that we anticipated it.
Right.
Where did you find the gall to that? Was it other situations leading up to that as well, and this was kind of just like icing on the cake, kind of? Or was it just, I'm going to stand up for what I believe in no matter what, even if it doesn't end well for me, in a sense?
So kind of going back to the boundary line of, do you be petty? Do you stand up for yourself or protect your peace? Well, in 3 different kind of situations, right? Because standing up for yourself, I don't think is always necessarily deemed as petty, right? There's petty ways you can do it. There's good ways you can do it. And then there's also the actual protecting your peace in terms of, let me just kind of stay low, down low, deal with it, right? Going to that boundary line, I think it depends on the situation, 100%. Because if I did not have confidence that we would be able to keep our lights on, have the roof over our head, and keep food on the table, would I have made that same decision? Maybe not. Because I'm kind of forced to, at that point, be in a situation where I have to deal with it, right? But at the same time, and this kind of goes into your next question too, I did ask my husband. I said, hey, this is what was sent to me. This is how I want to respond. Can you give me the go-ahead? You know what I'm saying? And the reason I did that is because I'm not only a single woman anymore. You know what I'm saying? What my decisions now also affect my husband, because we live together. Our lives are entangled now. You know what I mean? Like, we are literally married. So my decisions affect him. His decisions affect me. So I said, this is what I want to respond with. My background, knowing where I'm coming from, I said, there's a very good chance that they will not want me to finish out the year, or, might tell me, hey, you don't need to be here, kind of thing, right? Like, basically get fired. But the thing is I was like, I'm willing to take that risk. You know what I'm saying? And I told you that. So I, in my way, yes, I responded, but I want to point out I did so very professionally. I did not break a line, so I was not petty necessarily to my employer, but I did respond very professionally that I did not agree, that it morally did not stand with me, and obviously I was not coming back. That being said, that was me protecting my peace. I don't get peace from doing nothing and saying nothing. It's not in who I am. So for me, protecting my peace sometimes comes from standing up for myself more than it would for me to lay low. And in my specific situation, going into your next question, was it that one thing or was it multiple things leading up to it? I can honestly and full-heartedly say I'm not sure. And the reason I say that is because there is a lot of stuff that led up to it, right? And I was already at peace with my decision to not return, first and foremost. Whether that was finish out the year and not return, which again was only also like a couple weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, or at this point, or, you know, lay low and just finish out the year, but no, I'm not coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it that I wanted to do? But at the same time, if this had also happened in the beginning of the year, might I have made the same decision? I might have, because again, my morals and how I feel about things are what's most important to me. Do I want to really work somewhere that, one, you can do questionable things throughout the year, right? And I can notice things and I can not say things and protect my peace that way because it doesn't directly involve me or not enough to where it's affecting me, right? But the moment you try to take away my rights or freedoms over something so small as well, and not even related to you. Actually, I want to point that out too. This entire situation was not even related to them. They made it about them and tried to, you know, take it away that, or make me take something down that way. To me, that's not right and that's not okay. Like, I personally, depending on our situation, honestly, would I have done it again? I think I would have. And the reason I say it is, again, I don't falter, or I try not to falter on what I believe is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And in this situation, I fully believe that that is wrong, whether it was done to me or anybody else. And I would have made it happen, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Because I even thinking back on it, I think originally when you did bring me into, and I knew of some of the little things that, you know, kind of throughout the experience, things that were going on. And again, my number one priority as a husband is to support my wife. And I try to keep work things separate because, again, I could be heated and upset about the way my wife was treated in reference to my wife. That does not give me gall to go to her job, to her boss and say, hey, man, you're whatever. That's not logical, and it doesn't make any sense because I'm not employed there.
Yeah.
So my thought process is always protecting my wife. And I did notice that my wife, and who I know that she is, she was not that same person throughout this experience. And the longer this experience carried on, I saw more of a change. Of course, we're in the thick of it, so I don't speak to that. We just kind of keep grinding. But noticing things on the back half, like, yeah, you're right back to your normal self, and that's what I like to see. But I think my original advice was just kind of like, don't respond. Just kind of let things proceed as they may. I've always been to kind of let people trip and fall on this spike themselves. Because, yeah, I can push you. Probably make me feel good, but then I got to deal with the backlash.
Right.
I'd rather let you trip and fall and kill yourself. So that was kind of like my thought process with it all, because to me it doesn't make sense with everything that's going on and everything that we got to deal with already. That's what your concern is at this moment in time. So that already tells me the type of situation it was. So, and I was just kind of like, hang out. And then that's when I introduced the idea of just we were talking, kind of toying with the idea of you not even really responding or going back the next year anyway.
Yeah.
So I was just like, don't respond. That has nothing to do with your job. It doesn't affect the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. Leave it where it is. But I respect my wife and her strength and her decision in wanting to respond and stand up for herself. And I support her in that. So in my sense, like, now we're talking about how this works in a relationship. Because it's important to know what your role is in a relationship at a particular time. And I always say this, we're both young and we're both still very much in our figuring it out journey. But now we're married, and that has to come with a sense of structure and a sense of support as well. So sometimes, go off, take your time, figure out your thing. I'm the anchor. I hold this down. I make sure we're good. I got us. We got each other. We'll be okay. And I think that's kind of like the position I took after the fact. Because I'm not going to lie. If I'm being honest, y'all family, I'm going to be honest with family. At first, I was like, I told you not to respond. So not to say anything. And now this kind of spur of the moment thing we kind of have to deal with, that cars would have been more so on our side and on our timing had we waited a little bit. That's how I was feeling at first.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that comes from I have two ways of thinking about situations. That comes from my
non-confrontational.
Stay on the path and just kind of let things, just keep it going. Just keep your money going, keep the bills paid, just keep it flowing. It'll be all right. But at the same time, I'm also in where I was born and how I was raised. You stand up for yourself. And so I respect that way more than I do kind of sticking with the status quo and letting the chips fall where they win, because we wouldn't be where we are as a society or as a people free if folks weren't willing to step outside and challenge the status quo. Yeah. So getting into like kind of like my next point in this conversation, what are some things as far as like our relationship goes that kind of help give you the strength to in this later process? So now we're not talking about what you went through at the job and the people anymore. Now we're talking about the later effects. Mm-hmm. Because what happens at first is, you can kind of dance on that sense of pride. I stood up for myself. Then you sleep and then you wake up and then it's like, oh, S word. Like my whole world just kind of, you know what I'm saying, really quickly. So how was that process after and getting in that? And what were some things kind of like in our relationship that we are okay with speaking about and speaking on, that we have to kind of navigate and getting to that sense of now where we're totally 100% content and happy with the decision that we made? Or was it like that from the start?
Honestly, for me, it was like that from the start. And the reason I say
Sorry, roundabout way to ask that question. I apologize.
But the reason that for me, I think it's the same, is because one, we had already obviously talked about previously me not going back. And we both knew that, especially, I had finished out the year, which again was only like 3 weeks. Like I basically finished. Like,
yeah.
I was this close, right? So, we had talked about, well, I'll have a summer to find a job. You know what I mean? Like I'll make it happen, right? So for me, even though it got cut a little bit short, just knowing that you were okay with what I was going to respond, because, and I kind of wanted to go back a little bit. We did talk about, obviously, my husband said, don't even respond, don't worry about it. But at the same time, knowing how it came across, if I did not respond in an email form, I would have then been called in or something too, because they wanted a response. Mm-hmm. Now I did sit, and this is obviously advice that I kind of got from you, and I think even now I've kind of like realized, hey, it's okay to sit on something first before you respond. So I did sit on it. And for a whole weekend, basically 2 days or so. Because
again, not to cut you off, I 100% left the ball in her court. Yeah. Because in that situation, she wasn't asking me what would I do. She was asking me how do I go about this? Yeah. Feeling this way. Yeah. And so of course, partnership, I laid out both sides, and I was like, I 100% support you in whatever way you kind of want to go. And then you can, okay.
Yep. So, and that's what was going to bring me into this is, I did talk to you again, because I had actually left out of town that weekend. And so when I had gotten back, we did talk about it, and I said, I would like to respond. Let me go ahead and get it. And my thing was, I want to get it out of the way, because I'm not going to keep teetering on it and walking around and dancing on eggshells. That's one, just not who I am. And two, I was like, I've sat on it, I've slept on it, I've thought about it. This is how I really feel. And I personally think I got the strength from the fact that you are a supporter and you're a provider. And so in our relationship, we have mentioned this previously, we equally provide, right? But the role and the type of person you are is perfect for someone like me, because I am very independent and very strong, but even the strongest warriors need some help once in a while, right? They might need a helping hand to get back up, and they might need that silent support to keep us at our strength. And for me, that's where you come in. And you literally said, balls in your court, and you said, I will fully back you in doing this. And I told you, if I do this, there's a very 90% chance, you know what I'm saying, no matter how professional my email is, there's a 90% chance I might get cut short of my time here, even though, again, we were basically through the year. But and you said, we'll figure it out. I got you. And your non-wavering 100% support of me and my decisions, and literally just supporting me even as a human, because for me this wasn't just, oh, I don't like what they did. No, it was literally, you're attacking me as a human with rights. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I really felt about that. Not even felt, that's how it was. Like, so you supporting me as a person as well is what really, I think, gave me the strength to say, yeah, I'm gonna make this decision, I'm gonna do this, and I'm good. And that gave me peace. And so the moment it was sent, a weight was lifted. That weight has been lifted. Even when the conversation happened, that they were like, well, and I'll just go ahead and say it, you know, we don't really need you to finish out the rest of the year then, because whatever, they were not happy with my response, obviously. You know what I'm saying? That was fine. I already told them I wasn't coming back. I basically told them I quit already. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was fine with it. And I was good. Like, I literally walked in weightless as a butterfly, and I hadn't felt that way all year long. You know what I mean? Like, and so that weightlessness, I think, really is what made me feel even more confident in the fact that I did make the right decision.
Yeah.
And even thinking about it, I would not go back and do anything differently, knowing I was unemployed a little sooner than I wanted to be. Because again, one, I also didn't make it most of the year. But I don't think I would go back. I've been very happy. I've been feeling more like myself. And I think we've talked about this as well. I was like, I'm just kind of more into our relationship again. Not that I wasn't ever out of it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm actually I feel like I'm showing you more attention, maybe a little bit, even just kind of throughout the day. Not even throughout the day, but just at home, more kind of fully, you know, into conversations and fully just like wanting to see how your day was and then what can I do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like more of a wife a little bit right now. And it feels weird because
You're always a wife.
Yeah, well, I just feel like I'm doing a better job because I feel like I'm actually, and this is what makes me feel a little bit like, not sad, but like sad, is because I was like, I never noticed, and I don't think I really did, like, pull back a little bit at all, but I feel like, I don't know, there's like a cloud or like a fog that is kind of now out of my way, and I actually haven't told you this, but like, a cloud or fog is almost like out of my way or something, and I can just fully just be in a moment. And I don't feel like I've been able, like, throughout the week, you know what I'm saying, to like the work week, to be fully in a moment when we've come home. And I don't think I've had that. But at the same time, you're also someone who clings to energy, right? So I feel like for me to be able to fully be in a moment with you, you've also now been able to be even more fully into a moment with me and enjoying your time when you're coming home, because you're obviously there finishing out your year, you know, right? So for that reason, I have no regrets. If you don't know where that's from, look it up.
Right. And I think that speaks a lot to, even going back to that question that I asked, like, is it okay? Because the reason why I use the word petty is that's normally always portrayed from someone viewing a situation and viewing a response and deeming it in a category. So I kind of laid it out in that way for a reason, because in a roundabout way, we've talked through our entire topic, but also through your story. I mean, it is totally okay to respond in a way that may not be perceived positive, in the sense of you feel supported. It makes sense. You know what you want. You know what you're trying to get out of a situation. And you know what you've been dealing with, but you also know that no matter what, someone has your back. And so I think when making a decision in whether to, because I feel like you should always stand up for yourself, but it's just a sense of timing. Like, when is the right time? When is the right moment? And how do I do that? But I think, again, like, the steps. Step number one, how do you feel? Where do you stand on this? And it can't be, no, how do you feel about this? One. Two, who are the people that you trust to give you good counsel in situations, to talk through? Not only from the perspective of, I know exactly who you are and what you need out of life and what you're getting at, but I also know, you know, sometimes you can be a little hasty, or sometimes, you know, you could be thinking about you too much and you don't maybe see the bigger picture. Maybe I need to kind of open that up for you. But it's also talking to someone that can be real with you. I think in all aspects of a situation, to help you, again, get closer to the point of making that decision. I don't think any decision, if you can get someone else involved or get a second opinion, I don't think you should make any decision without garnering a second opinion in some way, shape, or form. Especially with someone that you trust and that really knows you. And I'll let you make that
the
that
right
determining
person
factor.
too. Someone you trust
Yeah.
that knows you, but someone also that you can trust to give you solid advice. Because, for example, I can think of some people that I trust and that I love very much, but I don't think that their advice sometimes would work for me. You know what I'm saying? So, and the reason I say that is just because I'm not saying it's bad advice, but for me, not because they're not biased towards me, because they would be, but maybe that could be why I don't get advice from them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain people that it's like, well, look at where they're at too. Do you want to be in their situation? If not, then why are you asking them for advice? Or if they're not someone that has those words of wisdom, you know what I'm saying, that can really speak to you, got to find the right people too to ask for advice. Because if you're just asking for advice from people, even if you love them, it might not be what's best for you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And so leaning on your counsel, step number 2. After determining how you feel, leaning on your counsel, now it's time for you to decide and make a decision. And it decide and make a decision. But now it's time for you to make a decision.
It's time for you to decide to make the decision.
Right.
I got you.
So now it's time for you to make a decision.
Yep.
And in making that decision, is it something that I can stand behind 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 2 days from now? Am I going to be able to support that decision? And am I going to feel okay with the decision that I made? In coming down to how you really feel and what you're going to do, if you can really stand on it and you're not going to feel bad about it, it 100% is how you feel and how you want to go about doing it, then the next step after that is do it. And after that is just to stand on it.
Yeah.
And to make it positive. Now you have to make it a success story, you know, because there is still room for you to fail. But now it's up for you to take all of that pride and everything that you put into making that decision into making sure that it has a positive outcome.
Right.
And I think in everything, you know, it was a lot of cloud for a moment, but I'm excited for your future and where you could go to. I'm excited that you're excited, which helps me kind of in my situation, being the anchor right now, you know, that helps me do that. It makes it easier for me to get up and go, even on some days where I'm just like, I'm just really tired, you know, or it's getting hard, or like I've been smacking my head against the wall just to get there every day, you know. I'm still strong and willing to take that because I'm picking up off that energy that you're giving me and you're able to feed into us, and I'm feeding it into my job so that I can be that anchor so that until you can find exactly what you're looking for and have the job in life that you want and you deserve. And so I think that in totality answers that question. And I think if you can go through those steps, you can determine whether it's okay to be petty or accept the status quo and protect your peace.
Right. I agree. Now, that being said, I did a poll.
Ooh.
Okay. So, in regards of being petty or protecting your peace, right? I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. I did poll our listeners, or I should say our followers, anyone that has, you know, tuned into our social media pages. Yep.
We asked the fam a question.
I literally asked you guys, I said, have you ever done something that might have been petty, but you called it self-care or protecting your peace? So in this case, it wasn't were you petty or protecting your peace, it was did you do something petty, but you called it protecting your peace or self-care. 89% said absolutely no regrets.
Yep, makes sense.
11% said, nah, I take the high road. To be honest, when I looked at the numbers, I think it was literally 1 or 2 people that said, no, I'll take the high road. Everybody else, though, said, that's the 11%. Everybody else said, yes, absolutely no regrets. And even people that I personally know that I was like, I'm happy, not surprised, but happy they answered honestly, but you wouldn't think that they were the person to maybe do something petty, right?
Right.
So, that being said, can you think of anything petty that you've done, and again, I don't really see you doing things that are petty, you just kind of let it go. I know something petty that I've done, but I know that you didn't even realize it, and this was early on in our relationship, and it doesn't have to be our relationship, but it's like something that came to my mind. But is there anything that you could think of that you've done that was petty, that you just called protecting your peace or self-care?
I mean, not necessarily. I think if I did something petty to protect my peace, it was by accident. Like, I wasn't trying to. It just might have come out in, like, a real way. Like, I could have been feeling it, and it just came out. Yeah. But I wasn't trying to purposely be petty. So, I don't want to say I've never done it, just out of the fact that I might have done that not intentionally meaning to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you're right. I generally try to take the high road with everything. Like I just try to stay quiet and
Yeah.
just kind of let things go until taking the low road is beneficial for me.
Right.
That's how I look at it. I don't necessarily always choose to just ignore stuff and accept the status quo. I'm big on timing. I want the oohs and ahs when I drop the bomb. I want the
That's
mouth wide
true.
open, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, yep.
Yeah, because they're not expecting it.
Yeah, like I struck while the iron was hot. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then and I like those moments. Like for me, if again, I don't remember ever purposely being petty, but how I think about it in my mind, I never get to that point all the way. Like I lead it up to it, but then something happens and I'm like, okay, I didn't have to do it. But
Right.
I'm always thinking like I want to drop the bomb where you immediately get, I'm being petty. Exactly about that. Like I exactly brought that back 5 years ago, 6 months. Like I brought it right back.
Okay.
Oh, I remember the exact moment I did that to him.
Well, then speaking of, because I just thought of something else. We're both, coaches or technicians, right, in our aspects. Is there anything you've done as a coach or a technician that was maybe petty, but it was still maybe good for the kids, though, or good for your students?
How I think about things, I say no. All of they're not even real punishments. They're always stuff that'll aid you in your sport.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's always warranted. Like I'm a very simple guy. Like
Yeah.
like I tell, like I don't have like a bunch of rules. Respect me, I'll respect you. You know what you know what's expected of you and what's expected of you when you walk in this room. Do those things.
Yeah.
If you step outside of that, you disrespect me and you step outside of the stuff that you know you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
and you're doing the stuff that's wrong, then I'm gonna meet you with what you met me with. You know what I'm saying? I am
Very
a
true.
mirror. So that's the principle I try to
that
stand
could
on.
be
So
it.
I've never done
Yeah.
anything petty to a student
Not
they
that
didn't.
you know of, yeah.
Everything they got, they deserve. You know what I'm saying? They earn.
Very true.
And again, it's nothing hurtful. It's just everything that aids you in your sport. Whether
Right.
that's you got a couple push-ups, you got to hit a lap, or you
Right.
got to do some extra work, or you got to put all the drums up, or
Yeah.
it's just.
I was just curious because I'm not gonna lie. I feel like, especially as a coach or a technician, we've had thoughts that you're like, I could be real petty right now. But
Oh yeah,
I feel
I've
like
had moments like that.
we
Like I could be a
haven't, and
real
I can say
butt.
too.
Like,
I haven't acted. As far as I know, I haven't acted on any of my pettiness. I can't think of anything. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had thoughts. I was like, okay, I could really, right now, but I didn't though. Because especially as a coach or a technician, like you want to be not even just necessarily well respected, but you do want to be well respected at least amongst your students because they're the ones that matter, and like those are the ones we're trying to aid, right? So yeah, I don't think I have either. But do you want to hear my petty story?
Yeah.
It's not like super super short
What
that
you
I
got?
remember. So this was early on in our relationship, guys. Like literally our first year of dating, and I know it was our first year of dating because we had good communication, but it wasn't like we had to build that
Yeah.
kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we had a little bit different communication styles as well. So it wasn't definitely obviously not where it is now. You know what I'm saying? So we were still in the process of building that. That's what that whole first year relationship is, especially when you're like someone. That being said, we went home for summer. I went to obviously Central Florida. He went up to Atlanta, and because that's where we went home to. Both went home to our families, and we had just started dating a few months before we left. Okay, and so I remember that we had a whole like argument about how I felt like basically coming from my end, I was like, I felt like you weren't talking to me as much, and like, but then like when we did talk, I felt very Hot and Cold by Katy Perry, okay, or like bipolar, because I was like, when we did talk, it was like you were still all there, you were missing me, I don't know if we said I love you at this time, but, really liked you a lot or loved you depending on where we were at. I honestly don't even remember. Sorry. But that being said, like, it was great. But then, like, we would go a long time, or at least for me, it felt like a long time without talking or something. And I remember having an argument about it. And so after this argument, though, we both kind of just said, like, okay, I'll not calm down, but, like, calm down a little bit, basically, and you're going to try and do a little more for me. So, like, basically trying to meet in the middle of how much I thought he should have been communicating with me and how, he is home to spend time with family and stuff, right? So, and I was too, obviously. That being said, I did 100% one time. You texted me or something, and I purposefully waited, like, a few hours before even texting back. And so that conversation that day had been a little bit longer. And looking back, like, honestly, I don't even think you probably realized it because, again, you were at home with your family. But I was just like, I wonder if I started not communicating as much, if he would understand maybe how I felt about it. Because I also felt a little misunderstood, I think, at the time. And again, we're still very early in a relationship. Yeah. Like, we literally had just been dating
every day, like, that semester in college together,
Yeah.
and then, like, now we're spending, like, a whole
None.
summer apart.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, and again, it had just not even been a few, like, barely, 2.5 months, maybe 3, but I don't even think it was that long. Like, by the time we were officially dating to leaving for summer. So, because college semesters are shorter than, like, any other school. So,
Yeah.
I think it was not funny, but, like, looking back, it's funny to me now. Because, again, I don't even know if you noticed. You probably didn't, but, like, yeah, exactly. So,
Not then. So,
but for me, it was just, like, that one petty thing. And I don't like to be petty in relationships, but I for sure was 100% petty.
Mind you, that summer... I had a lot going on that summer.
And I also didn't know about everything going on.
Yeah. I didn't want to tell you at the time because we were still fairly new.
Right.
And like, I like to keep my personal family stuff, like, at this time, very much still kind of to myself. Like, there's, like, tidbits of information, like, I would, like, give out here or there, but, like, the details, I kind of like to keep it between us kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm there for the summer. Yeah, I'm there to spend time with family, but I'm also, like, working at this warehouse with my mom. And we have one car, and so we're going back and forth. I worked from 2 to midnight. 2 to midnight.
Yeah.
That's the whole day. So, and a warehouse, assembly line, like, on my feet, 10 hours, you know, like, working. So when I would get home, like, you know, she's had a full day. I think you were working too at the time. I think you were still
I was, yeah.
But, like, you were still working and stuff like that. But you would get off way sooner than I did. So those will be the times where, like, you're coming down, you're chilling, like, you want to talk to your person. But I'd still be at work. And then when I did get off work, you're pretty much passed out going to bed. And so just the communication times just didn't match up at all. And then, like, I slept through the night, most of the morning, probably didn't wake up till, like, maybe 11 noon, 2 hours before I had to be at work again.
Right.
Now, I would have weekends off, and I think that's when we talked the most.
Yeah.
When I had weekends, and then you did come up and see me one weekend, but no, I wasn't being petty by not responding.
No, I know
I was real busy.
I just was that one time.
I really had a lot going on.
And I came back to it. I was like, it's fine. Like, and we worked through it and stuff. Because again, it was a lot of things. We were still learning communication styles. We were obviously apart for the first time since we officially started dating. So like, we had to figure out the whole, like, long distance. And it wasn't even that long, but obviously it was like a whole summer, which was like 3 months at least for us. You know what I mean?
Like, and I'm a very much an intro extrovert. So I definitely have spells where I don't like talking on the phone as much, and I can kind of purposely not be by my phone because I'd rather just be in the moment, be where I'm at instead of being back and forth on the phone. So when I was younger, I definitely did do that a lot.
And then I will say,
but she held me accountable, which made me grow out of it and do better about it.
Yeah. And I will say, too, it did make a little bit of sense because at one point, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but you did say, well, also talking to you makes me miss you more because I'm not with you and we didn't get to see each other a lot. And I was like, and at the time I was like, that's a lame excuse. He's just trying to get out of it, whatever. But, I mean, that also rang true many years into our relationship and after, and it actually made sense, especially as we kept dating.
Like, I'm gonna put my head down, work type of person.
Get through it.
Because it's just the summer. Like, we'll be back together again the next semester. Yes. I'm gonna put my head down. I'm a workhorse. I'm a dog. Like, even when I work for, like, where I work now, I'm very personable. I do like talking to people. When I'm at work, I'm in my room and I'm thinking about if I don't got a class in there, then or whatever, then I'm like, again, I'm thinking about work. I'm doing something related to work. I'm working. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. It's hard for me to separate the personal and the work. Like, when I'm at work, I'm at work. My personal is when I'm at home with my wife doing nothing, or I'm at home doing what I do when I go home. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know where I was getting at, but a roundabout way.
Well, no, I mean, that's funny. Yeah, that was the one. And honestly, I don't think I've done, like I said, I don't actually like to do petty things in a relationship. Like, so I think that was the one and only time I remember doing something, and it was literally within the first however many months of us dating.
Right.
And again, you didn't even notice. I was like, it's fine, whatever, and he didn't care, so it was all good. But that
I probably
being
did.
said,
I just probably didn't say anything to you, but I could see myself being like, hey, I told her a while ago.
Exactly. So you did not know, playing.
Probably did. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
No, yeah, it was a long time ago. That's why I was like, obviously, I don't even know what it was, all that was in the conversation or what we were talking about. Obviously, it's been so long, but good times. I'm not as petty anymore, though. I don't want to say sad, but I think of petty things in my head, but I think I'm just mature enough to know if I'm in a situation to actually say them.
Right, yeah.
To say them or
Keep
not, or
I'm
to
keep
act
that
on
one to
it.
myself.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of keep it for my private conversations, I think, now, which I think a lot of adults do. But that said, though, I want to hear y'all's petty stories. So do you guys have any stories that you were like, oh, I'm protecting my peace, or calling it self-care, but like
Or-
you were being petty?
Do you have any stories where the lines are blurred? It was petty
Yes.
and protecting your peace at the
At the
same
same
time.
time. Very true. Very true.
All right, we ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer. Again, it's always great to be back with you guys. Hopefully we said something that resonates with you, that you can take with you. Hopefully we helped you currently if you're in the middle of a situation trying to figure out what's the best way to go about it or what's the best thing to do. Hopefully we helped you kind of go through some route and think through some channels of some ways you can kind of help narrow that down for yourself and figure that out.
Yes.
And if there's any other questions you have or any other ways we can help you, please reach out. We're here. We all here to help each other. If y'all got advice for us, tips for us, ways we can be more engaging, ways we can improve our content, things that you want to see from us, let us know. Holla at us, if you will.
Right. That
but-
said, too, to wrap up for me, I just want to say, okay, if you get nothing else from this episode, if you think the grass is greener on the other side, you have to go to the other side to find it. Just saying.
Could be.
Might not be, but it could be.
Could be.
Okay, you have to take a leap of faith sometimes. But that being said, that's all I have too. So if you can, please like, subscribe, follow, all the jazz. Give us a comment, DM, whatever you want to do on our socials. We are at letmehollaatyou.podcast on everything. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I think that's it. So much, guys, but we're everywhere, and obviously we're on all of your favorite podcast search engines and platforms. So that being said, please engage with us. We want to know your stories. Were you petty, protecting your peace? Do you have boundary lines that were, maybe a little blurred? We want to hear it all. We would love to share your stories. And if you have any episode ideas, please let us know. We've done them in the past. We would love to do some more for you guys in the future. You good?
I'm good.
That said, guys, thank you for being here, and we'll catch you next time on
Let me holla at you.